a top-down approach like that, like promoting a flag that probably not many people knew about or voted on, and then calling it the official pro-life flag, feels like a disservice to the movement. Our approach, we're trying to make it more of a grassroots approach, and hopefully it'll catch on with people who like it and then grow from there. And we think that's a better way to represent the movement. Hello, welcome to ProLife Brand,
where we share our ideas to create a unifying visual identity for the pro-life movement.
This is Kate Yep, along with my husband,
Kai Yep. And our baby too.
Hello and welcome to another episode of ProLife Brand. Thanks for joining us. In this episode, we are going to be talking about another flag project that directly relates to what we're doing. It was a flag competition that happened last year to create a pro-life flag, and we're going to be talking about our thoughts about that project and what we thought about the result of it and the path forward. So, Kai, why don't you lay the groundwork on the context of this flag competition that happened?
This was called the Pro-Life Flag Project, and you can look it up at prolifeflag.com if you're interested. So the aim of this project was to create a pro-life flag for the whole pro-life movement, which sounds very familiar to what we're doing here, right? And I believe it was started in March of 2020, but probably nobody knew about it back then. They said this timeline probably when they started meeting or something. I certainly don't know. I didn't know about this project until 2021. And I think it was a group of people led by Will McFadden in Washington, D.C., who I personally didn't know before. If you go to that website that I mentioned, you will see the result. It was like the structure was a voting contest. So people will submit. We'll get into the specifics in a bit, but basically they requested that professional and non-professional designers submit their designs to be voted on by the pro-life movement. I think they had some advisors. I believe, based on what I saw and in my communication with Will, some of these advisors were not necessarily flag experts or designers. I think they might have had a couple, but and I read in one of the articles that the NAVA, which I made reference to before in other videos, the North American Vexillological Association advisor that they had, said something along the lines of, quote, "There's a good flag trying to come out of this one."
Out of the final one they chose.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a very polite way of saying the flag is not that good. So that was their take. And I have opinions that are going the same line, to be honest. So
Yeah. Okay. So why don't you talk about your involvement more directly?
By the time I learned about the competition, I already had my idea kind of mature. It wasn't finalized. So I definitely thought, I'm going to participate. I'm going to submit my design. Hopefully we can we can win. And in the process, so just to give you a picture, people would submit single images or sometimes the image of their flag with a mock-up, how the flag would be waving. What I submitted was a whole design that had not only just the flag, it had an explanation text that explained the concept, that explained the colors. I had the flag, and I had multiple mock-ups where the flag was applied to emojis, t-shirts, stickers, basically everything that we've been saying in our project and how this should have been conducted in a way.
The whole design system that we talked about in the last video.
The whole application, that's what I submitted.
Right.
Probably that caught Will's attention because we started communicating by email directly, and we had a few back and forth where I explained to him at least my take on how the competition should be run in a way, based on my knowledge in design, in flag design, and so. For example, they used a platform called 99 Designs that I'm known to, and I had my reservations about that. Anyway, So I communicated with him, and at the end, they didn't choose my flag, which I understand based on the criteria that they had. I understand now why they didn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So what's your take on the competition?
So yeah, I was getting into some of that earlier. I think the competition was well intentioned, and as I've told you, and I've told some people when I talk about our project, anybody in the pro-life movement who puts their name, their profession out to do something like this already has my respect. I think the idea was a good idea. I say that not only because I had the same idea a long time ago, but in and of itself, it is a good idea, you know.
Yeah.
And there's an intuition there on how visuals and symbols can help people find unity and find an identity.
Right.
So with all that, you know, I think that I don't know Will personally, and I imagine he's a great, you know, person. But with that said, I do think that the competition was flawed, and that some of the criteria they used and the expertise getting into the field of flag design and graphic design and communication was flawed. So
Yeah.
to go back to the point that I mentioned before, right? This platform that they used, it's a for designers. It might be pretty well known. It's called 99 Designs, where people submit designs for competitions. And my experience, because I've been designing for over 10 years, but when I started, I would also do that kind of thing, you know, where you get a lot of junior designers who want to get their name out and have some experience. So that's why they submit their designs, hoping to win and get some experience. So I understand. I think that platform has the majority of people there are junior designers, which I'm not. As I said, I don't have anything against. You know, I was at some point a very junior designer, but for the responsibility and the importance of this design, I think it was not the right platform.
Sure.
And in fact, they received thousands of proposals, and you and I saw them. I mean, I showed you every day how they kept piling up, because there's the monetary reward was pretty high. So any junior designer in the platform will say, well, maybe I have a shot, without being part of the
trying.
I would have, but without being part of the pro-life movement, without knowing the whole social impact and the tension in the whole conversation about abortion and what the take of the pro-life movement is. So
was there any like levels of this competition where like maybe you got a bunch of junior designers, but then there was also like more professional designers and they narrowed it down to like better and better designs until the end, or how did that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. The one that I'm mentioning was actually the quote unquote professional designer tier, and then they had opened it for non-professional designers, because you know, people who are not designers could have good ideas, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But one thing is to have an idea, and one other thing is to really see it executed well, and with the whole breadth that this would take. And like any junior designer, even junior designer who's starting their schooling in design, would know that when you present an idea, you don't present one idea. Especially in branding, what you present is surely the actual logo or whatever symbol you're designing, and you have to present at least like 8 applications. That's how it always goes. How would this be seen on a screen, on a small format, on a t-shirt, on a flag, on a bus, on a van, on you put it, and then you realize, oh, this symbol is not the best, this logo is not the best, it's not working well. That's the foundation of any brand project, and they didn't approach it that way. They basically wanted a single piece.
Just the flag.
And it's very hard to communicate, because the flag is like a thumbnail. It's the low resolution take on a whole idea, a whole group of people. In this case, a group of people in a very important message that is very nuanced. So there's no way around this. Like, the flag has to be very symbolic and simple, so that you know it can be stretched and embrace all this message instead of that specific. So the marketing was poor, I think. They say they started the whole contest in March of 2020, and I'm willing to bet nobody knew about it back then, and that's okay. There's a whole setup. I think most of their work might have been reaching out to other organizations, because they do have a very long and exhaustive list of pro-life organizations, and that's pretty great. They did a lot of work there, but nobody outside that knew. I mean,
yeah, in our experience, we talked to lots of people about this flag that has been chosen and out there for a while now, and people still don't know about it.
People still don't know about it, and
Who've been in the movement for years.
For decades.
Yeah,
for decades, and they haven't seen it. So in an article that I read, they said that they got 6,000 votes.
Okay.
And if you think about the breadth of the pro-life movement, it's internationally, not only in the United States, internationally, because that was the aim. It's millions of people. So 6,000 votes, it's not statistically significant to actually pick the flag that
be representative
of everybody. So I think the marketing was done poorly. Maybe they were hoping to do that through these organizations, but their Facebook page, their Instagram page, which I started following closely because I was super excited about this, had just a few hundred people and not very many comments. So yeah, I don't think their marketing was well done. My take is that they probably were following the pattern that of other flag competitions. For example, New Zealand some years ago tried to redesign its flag, but it was a competition. It was a referendum, so everybody in that nation knew what it was, and there were specific dates, and it was publicized, so everybody knew about it, and the constraints were clear, and the flags they proposed were professionally made. So
and then the people voted on those professional designs that had been weeded down to like the best set.
Correct. That was the structure.
Right.
So in that case, I think it's more fitting because it's for a country, it has to be democratic. But in this case, even if that was their intention, which maybe there's a place for that, they had very junior design proposals designed by junior designers, and they were the finalists. Also, I think the expectation on the final designs was already pretty skewed.
Yes.
One of the hard requirements that they had at some point was to have a very photorealistic rendering of the baby feet, the precious feet, which we have made reference to in the past, in the flag. And we have explained in that video why
it doesn't work in a flag.
It doesn't work in a flag, and it's too big, it loses its impact, it's mainly be it's supposed to be on a pin, very small. That's the impact. So anyway, but yeah, at some point they even had a condescending email saying if you don't know how to draw hands, because they wanted to incorporate hands, please don't even try. So I was a little sour about that, because they're coming across as like experts when they were already asking for a specific solution. So
and I remember the logo for this competition had an image of a flag that looks very similar to the flag they chose at the very end. So it seems like they had what they wanted in mind from the very start.
And maybe they just wanted to put it in a setting that would just be validated and have the look of like a democratic process. But it was super skewed, I think.
Yeah, I didn't feel they were really open to different ideas or designs or approaches.
No.
So
they didn't. They did request a specific solution. Will, in one of his emails, told me that they were trying to be open-minded about this, which probably they were. But ultimately, you see the result, and exactly the same logo they had going into this is pretty close to what they chose at the end. And the criteria that at some point was told to us explicitly was also that. So they started with a solution in mind. So
yeah.
And just to reiterate this, the competition was about a flag, not like how can we give a visual identity to the pro-life movement, and whatever proposal comes, how would that be applied in banners? How would that be applied in buses, in T-shirts? Just show the breadth, like what you would do in the first year of design school. They did not do that.
Yeah.
So.
And we talked about that in our previous video and went through our design and how it works, thinking in this holistic design system. So make sure you watch that video if you haven't yet. Okay, so let's talk about the design of this flag that we've been talking about. What's your take on their design decisions?
So let me describe it, but we'll put it in the video. The flag is a white flag that has in the middle 2 baby feet in a photorealistic rendering type. They even see the cracks, of the feet. One is pink and one is blue. Then there's 2 hands that have a different style. They're like more very thin hands that look like more like clip art. It's a different style. They're pink, and they are surrounding the feet. There's a cutout of a heart in the feet. So there's a heart removed from the feet to form a heart.
Yeah, it's the white space.
The white space, and then there's 2 stripes, horizontal stripes, one blue and one pink. So that's the flag. My main concern with that flag is that it responds to a single aspect of the pro-life movement. It seems to me that they were it was a very reactive take.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
So one of the main criticisms that the pro-life movement has is that we focus only on the birth of the baby and not in the mother, which is not true.
Right.
We know that. Pro-lifers who are watching this know that. You volunteer at a pregnancy center. It's all about the mother and the baby and their whole context, actually. So I think that is valuable, and that's something we should say. But that's the only thing they had in mind. They say, for example, 2 feet, 2 hands, 2 people, 2 stripes, love them both. So the number 2 is there, like 2, 2, 2, it's only the mother and the baby, the mother and the baby.
Right.
Which is, okay, that's good, But then I wonder, like, is it only the 2 of them? Because I think there's a place for the father.
Absolutely.
There's a place for the father. There's a place for the family as a whole in this whole issue, right, of abortion.
Yeah.
And also the rendering and the concept seems to imply the beginning of life only, the baby feet only. But then we're saying we're pro-life. So where's the rest of life?
Yeah.
That's another big question that is also asked to pro-lifers. Like, what about other issues that are somehow relating to being for human life?
Right.
They're silent on that. It seems to be extremely narrow, a reactive concept that is not very forward-looking,
Right. And what do you think about the colors?
Yeah, I think the colors are inconsistent in not only... there's a level of subjectivity that goes into color picking. I give them that. But when you create a you state that a color means something in the boundaries that you're creating, you should use them consistently.
Sure.
Right? And they don't. So, for instance, the flag has 3 colors. The white, which is the background, but then the main 2 are pink and blue. Pink and blue are already colors that are used to reference boys and girls in toy stores, in diapers, and things for babies. You see that. So it's already socially accepted that way, right? So in the flag, the pink is used for the mother's hands. So it's a pink. So you assume that that's feminine, okay? So the pink is feminine. The blue is used in other ways that you would assume refers to the masculine, the boy. But the baby feet have also both colors.
Right.
So I think they got themselves into an issue because they wanted to emphasize the mother and the baby. So I think this was the thought. If we put blue in the baby's feet, it would only imply that it's a boy. So let's add pink to the other foot, so it's boys and girls. But then why is the same baby, in pink and also blue,
right,
when it's the same baby? So I think it was just something they did not think about too carefully. But my main concern is, considering the climate of culture right now and how overly sexualized it is, and the trans movement and how it's pushing its agenda, using those 2 colors and putting those two colors in the same baby, I think that's a problem. I think they did not see that, and I think they have to respond to that because considering the context of the culture, I think that's a disservice to the pro-life movement. The other issue that I have is that, well, you want to emphasize the love of the mother for the child, but then how did they render that? They did not add something. They removed something. And you might think, well, it's just a visual treatment, but any visual treatment has a meaning as well, if you know.
So you're talking about the white heart that's kind of like taken out from the feet.
It's taken out from the feet. Yeah. So I think it was just in that's what you do when you're a junior designer.
Like, let's add this little symbol in here. Maybe that would work.
And my respects to the girl from Brazil who designed it. I think she put her work out, and she might be a great person. And I don't know her, but just doing this says a lot about her. But I think that doesn't put the organizers and the actual design beyond criticism. I think there's a lot to say about this design as members of the pro-life movement, right? So that's my main concern. I have more that are more probably picky in a way as a designer. But if you want this to be a really good design that people embrace, I wonder why, for example, you would mix a photorealistic rendering of the baby feet. That's one style.
Hands that look very different.
Hands that look like a clip art, because they're not even like icons like that minimal. They're like it's more like an illustration, and then add the cutout of the heart, more like the icon type of rendering. So there's 3 very different styles. It looks inconsistent. And then it's so complex. Then what do you do with it? You can put it on a T-shirt, but it has to be large. And it's hard to see in the flag already. It has to be the photos that they post. The flag has to be very straight, or it's hard to see what's happening in there. So, and from far away, pink and blue, I would be careful with those colors. So, yeah.
It certainly doesn't work in a very small, space. Like we've talked about in one of our other videos about flag design, that it has to work in a small format for it to be recognizable from far distances. Okay, so what's the path forward?
Well, one of the reasons why we started ProLife brand was to respond to this, which we saw as a flawed proposal with really good intentions.
Failed opportunity, I think.
I think it was a failed opportunity. I think they didn't advise themselves well with what it would take really to make something what they were imagining to make it happen, right? So, well, I would say that so many groups have already created partnerships with this project, and they probably saw the potential of the idea. If any of those are watching, any of you pro-lifers are watching, I would really encourage you guys to go to their website, to their Instagram or Facebook pages, and ask these questions to the organizers. Why are we focusing the whole pro-life message into the baby and the mother alone? Where is the father? Where is the family as a whole? What is the rest of life? What about the inconsistencies in the actual design? Like, where are the other renderings of how this could be shown? That there's none of that. It's a single piece project. So, and to the organizers, I would say the same. I honestly reached out to them personally. In the emails that I sent to Will McFadden, I said these things that I'm telling you, I said to him. But it was, I don't know what happened next. And I commented on a few of their Instagram posts, and they deleted my comments. But the thing is, I was not the only one making those comments. There were, at least in the times that I did it, a couple of people asking, like, why is this, questioning the final design. And they deleted all those comments. So now I can't comment on their designs, as far as I know, or the post, because they blocked me.
And we think that a top-down approach like that, like promoting a flag that probably not many people knew about or voted on, and then calling it the official pro-life flag feels like a disservice to the movement, right? So that's why with our approach, we're trying to make it more of a grassroots approach, and hopefully it'll catch on with people who like it and then grow from there. And we think that's a better way to represent the movement, to let people decide what best represents them. So we hope that you consider our designs, and maybe we can see where this thing can go with ProLife brand and see if it fits better with the current culture and pro-life movement.
I think what we are trying to do is to make people dream. I think they will see that other proposal and people get excited, and I would get excited too. But my guess is that the success of this project, that other project that I am mentioning, will be its fall. And I say that I'm not very happy because it was a big effort. Because I think that, as they say, the worst thing that can happen to a bad product is good marketing. So once the flag becomes known beyond the realm of the pro-lifers who are very excited about it, the questions will come.
Right.
The press will come, and they will either have to, change the flag or just double down and make people believe that the symbol is what they say, even though the actual graphics say something different. They will have to morph the whole pro-life message and try to squeeze it into the meaning of that flag. So that's why I think our proposal has the potential to embrace all of it. But anyway, we'll see what happens. We are here for the long run. I don't think these social symbols catch on immediately, or like one vote and that's it, defined. These symbols change, and we're trying to hear from other people as well. And if anybody listening, has criticism of our project, we do read the comments, we do listen and respond. And if we're missing something in this critique, let us know too. And if maybe somebody from that project wants to join us in a conversation and see how to move forward, that's also welcome. We're just here we're trying to serve the movement,
Absolutely. Great. Well, thanks for tuning in to this episode on ProLife Brand, and catch us next time. Be sure to find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and follow us. Subscribe to our YouTube videos so you can continue to get updates when we have more episodes coming out. Thanks for following, and stay tuned for next time.